Hello and welcome back to Thomas's Moustache. I thought that we would do a little bit more of a poetry reading together. I will be reading from this book here by Fernando Pessoa. This is a translated collection because Fernando Pessoa was a Portuguese poet. So this is translated into English. The collection is from the Penguin Classics. It is called A Little Larger Than the Entire Universe. Selected Poems. Now, this is a great collection. There is one poem in the middle that I found difficult to read through, but the rest of them were excellent. I've highlighted a few of them. I found two just now that I think would be good to read, and perhaps I'll read a random one. What makes Fernando Pessoa very special is that he wrote under different names, personalities he had. Each personality was a different poet, and they all wrote different types of poetry. Each one of them was quite brilliant, and I found some of his poetry to be quite profound. One thing that I would say is that if you can get it, you should. This particular collection, I got it used on Amazon. I couldn't find a new edition, but you take what you can get, I suppose. I do prefer to get new, but I guess used is better than nothing, right? Now, both of these poems are untitled, so I will just begin. Okay, here is the first poem. I got off the train and said goodbye to the man I'd met. We'd been together for 18 hours and had a pleasant conversation. Fellowship in the journey, and I was sorry to get off, sorry to leave. This chance friend whose name I never learned. I felt my eyes water with tears. Every farewell is a death. Yes, every farewell is a death. In the train that we call life, we are all chance events in one another's lives. And we all feel sorry when it's time to get off. All that is human moves me because I'm a man. All that is human moves me not because I have an affinity with human ideas or human doctrines, but because of my infinite fellowship with humanity itself. The maid who hated to go, crying with nostalgia, for the house where she'd been mistreated. All of this inside my heart is death and the world's sadness. All of this lives because it dies inside my heart. And my heart is a little larger than the entire universe. That was an excellent poem. Normally when I read through my poetry books, I highlight my favorite poems. When I was younger, I used to always want to preserve my books. I wanted them to be in the best condition. Even if I'm reading them, I didn't want anything to touch them. I didn't even read my books outside. I always wanted my books to be read inside only, so that they wouldn't be contaminated or weathered or anything of the sort. When I grew up, I had a book. It was about Prince Charles back when he was Prince Charles. I guess I should say it was about King Charles back when he was Prince Charles. And I received the book damaged. It got wet on its way to me, delivery. So I received the book and it was totally water damaged. The whole thing was puffed up like a marshmallow. And I contacted the book depository and I said that the book is damaged. I'd like a new one. Well, I didn't say it like a new one. I just say my book was damaged in delivery. And then they offered a new one, of course. But, you know, that was kind of the beginning for me about seeing that this book is still readable. It's fully readable. I could read every page. I took the book on holiday and I read it on holiday, and you know, I actually loved it. So I had 2 copies of that book. I did give that book away. I was hoping that I would get it back, but I don't think that's possible because that was probably 6 years ago now. But ever since then, I started to mark up my books with pen, with highlighters. Generally, I mainly highlighting the parts that are useful to a book. So I have a lot of books on the bookshelf behind that box, and I've marked up a lot of them. And I'm currently in the process of marking them up. But poetry books, I always mark them up, especially if I like a poem. I don't write in between the lines, or I don't underline words or what have you, but I highlight the title so that I know that this is one of my favorite poems in the book. Okay, I'm not exactly sure if I recorded that, but I just did a huge spiel about Fernando Pessoa, saying that although he lived about 100 years ago, he had quite an admirable knowledge of things that were only just invented at the time. So he was quite brilliant. Okay, I'm going to read one more random poem, and then that'll be all. No, I'll read 2 poems, because I just read one and it didn't record, so I'll read 2. Both untitled. A gray but not cold day, a day with seemingly no patience for being day, and which only on an impulse, out of an empty fit of duty, tempered with irony, finally gives light to a day just like me, or else like my heart, a heart that's empty, not of emotion, but of pursuing a goal, a gray but not cold heart. That was a good poem. The next poem is also untitled. What matters is love. Sex is just an accident. It can be the same or different. Man isn't an animal. He's an intelligent flesh, though subject to sickness. Okay, excellent. I think that'll be all for today's reading. Today was quite warm out there. I was a busy bee, but I try not to do too much in the summer, generally because it's summer holidays, so you get all sorts of drivers out there, and also the heat of the summer I don't know, it does agitate drivers. It makes drivers agitated, so you have to be careful when you're out there. But there are bad drivers everywhere in the world, so you have to pick and choose when you interact with them, I suppose. But you should always give yourself the pleasure of deciding, because it is sad when a person has no choice in the matter to engage or not. The weather's warming up. I hope you enjoyed the bicycle video. It's still a bit warm to be biking, I would say. It's hot, so it's unfortunate, but in the winter time it is not freezing cold, so I'll bike a lot more in the winter. The 3-year anniversary video is probably going to be the video before this video. It sounds interesting saying it now, but I am recording in advance, so in August it's my 3-year anniversary, so that's good. 3 years. I'm so thankful to have you guys with me, and we will talk more about it in probably the video before this video, if I have to imagine it. So until the next video, I'll say Too-Da-Loo.